Good afternoon, early evening, my viewer. That's right, you, my viewers, subscriber. Maureen Sky, Silver, Senior, Chatty Sky, coming at you. I have to remember that because it's new. I keep wanting to say the other one. Anyway, how are we doing today? I'm doing pretty good. Yeah, it's still cold here in New England. I mean, that's why I have a shawl over me. I'm in my back room, my work room. And it is a workroom, so you'll see all the different things I got going on because I'm a reseller. I sell on eBay. So you'll see things around me that I got to get ready to list. Nice little cheese thingy. I love copper. Shoes, things like this. Yeah, they're here and they're ready, and I've been busy. My shoes, too. Gotta clean them up. Anywho, yeah, eBay's been going good too. I'm Reams Unique Things on eBay. If you're looking for my store, go check it out. But anyway, I want to do a video. I enjoy doing videos. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm really happy to have you. It's always good to have new people join in, and I hope I'm giving you enough good content to think about coming back. Anyway, that's my goal. And so, with that, my story today is for over 20 years, my job was to go to the local high school in the next town over and show up every day from 8 to 4. Sometimes it was 8:30 to 4:30, something like that. I was always there a little bit later than my work time. And I was for many years, for 17 of those years, I was their attendance secretary. And I did a lot of data entry, and that's how they took attendance. And even in the 17 years, that job and how we did attendance changed several different times over that span of those years. But that's what I was. And then I had always aspired to wanting to be the principal secretary, and I earned that title, and I was that secretary to the principal for a good year and a half at the end before I decided to leave there. More or less, I had over 20 years in because I started as a young girl, so I was able to more or less retire from that. And then I went to another school system in the next state in Vermont, and I worked in their special ed department for about 7 years. So the job was much different, but still in that high school setting. Yeah. But what I wanted to get to was that also being a writer that I am, and I like to write poems and that, I wrote a poem about being a high school secretary. And I actually put this one out there on that little writer's site, Fan Story, and I did pretty good with reviews and comments, I guess. But anyway, I'm going to read the poem, and then I'm going to tell you a story of an incident that happened that I aided, without realizing it, I aided in them solving the issue. So let's get started on that. The high school secretary. Now, this was primarily written with my 20-year job in mind, the one I did as an attendant secretary. The high school secretary. I stand at the long counter separating you from me. You, the student, me, the secretary. Pen in hand, I ask your name, or perhaps by now I may know it by heart. I grab the small pink tardy pass, and with my pen and overworked hands, I write your name, date of time, date of time of arrival, just as I did the day before and the day before that. Today's time is just short of a few seconds from the time noted the day prior. I am witness to your tired eyes, your morning breath, disheveled clothes, and your young mind. Freshman, you say? What's this attitude you are wearing today? Sophomores and juniors arrive with a bit more patience and friendlier demeanor. My mind ponders over whether there is much more going on here than just a late arrival once again. The mother in me just wants to grab them and give them a hug, along with a bit of wisdom and advice. Maybe the student did not even sleep at their own home last night. I take extra time writing out the tardy pass to offer a smile and a friendly gesture. No one really knows their suffering and daily pressure. Senior year, graduation near, the student no longer needs a tardy pass to class. A bit taller and a bit more crass, the student stops by for a hug and a laugh, giving thanks for all the days past. For fun, I give them a small picture frame of their last tardy pass, now under glass. I smile and pat myself on the back. Me, the school secretary, who just maybe had a little bit to do with the fact that this senior who was about to graduate, is a respectful, tactful, and well rounded individual ready for the world ahead. Walk tall, graduate. I like that one. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up. That was kind of my job over the years, and then sending letters home and informing and keeping, attendance records and stats and all that stuff for the end of the year reports. It's important, and the state reports and all that. And I was also in charge of the dropouts and keeping the dropout stats and files over the years. So if you needed that information, I was the one you would come to for that. But that was fun. But anyway, with that, I'm going to tell a story, a true story uh, of a situation. So uh, this particular day, it had snowed. We had a snowstorm. So that means that here in New England, if it's bad enough out, the superintendent will call the schools canceled for the day, a snow day, and there'll be no school. But the full-time staffers, which I was one, and custodians and that, who are on the full-time payroll, still have to come to work that day. Still have to get yourself there somehow through the snow and the ice and the this and the that. So that was one of those days where it was a snow day, and here in New England, they get the snowstorms can be pretty harsh. So the way our office was set up in the old school, they have since torn that down and rebuilt a new school. But I worked out of the old school all those years. And so the way our office was set up, you had to leave the main office, walk out the door of the main office, go through the high school lobby, and the front doors were right there in a lobby, long lobby, and then through the cafeteria, the senior section and big cafeteria, and then into a little faculty lounge, which was probably not much bigger than my workroom, and then that's where the restrooms were. So this particular day, it's about, I don't know, about 10 o'clock in the morning, I remember. And I had to be there for 8, like I said, so I'd been there a couple hours, so I had to use the restroom. So I leave the main office and I do that. I'm gone through the lobby, but while I'm in the lobby, I see a kid standing there because students were still allowed in the building and this and that back then. So there's a student there, and at his feet are like a pile of clothes, like stack of something, but clothes, and he's got his jacket or some coats over it. So I didn't see what was underneath that, but it looked like his winter coat or something. But he's acting all nervous and that. But I didn't realize that quite at first. I went up and spoke to him only, and normally I was still kind of quiet. So normally I wouldn't really talk too much to the kids. Only maybe if I would, if I knew who the kid was, but I didn't really know this kid. I knew his name because I knew a lot of the kids' names, being the attendance secretary, and their faces. So that's pretty much all I knew about this kid, his name and his face, and a little bit about his profile, given that I could always go into that and look at it on the computer and, see who his parents were and where he lived and this and that kind of thing. But anyway, so I go up to this kid just to say, hey, for some reason I must have felt like talking that day. So I went up to him and I said, hey, you don't have to be here today. Go home, play in the snow. Just kind of making a friendly gesture that way. And he said, oh, okay, yeah, I know. I just here getting a few things from my locker so I can do homework or whatever. And I needed a couple things. So I'm just waiting for my friend to join me and we'll be leaving soon. I thought, oh, okay. So, but I thought the kid acted awful nervous. I mean, he was just a thin kid, Asian. He was an Asian kid. Okay. And I didn't follow up with them after, but I think shortly thereafter he was gone. So I don't know. A few days pass, and um, now it's again like coffee break time. About 10 in the morning, we would all go into the little down the hall, and there's a little like a closet to the left, and you go in there, and that's where the coffee pot was, and mugs, and you had your coffee. So I'm getting my coffee, and I get it, and I decide to go in where the principal's secretary did a lot of her work. It wasn't really her office, but it was like an extension of her office. And it's also where the big computer was. We call it the main console, or we had a name for it though, because years back when computers just came out, you had a big computer room, and that's kind of like where she was working out of the computer room. So anyway, she's in there. She was a little short, chubby woman, very short, red hair, and Betty was her name, and great lady. Everybody, knew Betty, and you either loved her or you really didn't like her. She could be a spitfire with that red hair, but she was very knowledgeable, and you learned a lot from Betty if you paid attention. And so she not only became my coworker, but she became a dear friend. But I had my butt head times with her too. I think we all did, teachers and staff. But anyway, so I go in to just sit with her for a minute, have a conversation, aside from work, it was nice to just do that once in a while. You could do that. And I could tell if, she had a moment to spare or not. She was always very busy. But we were talking, and she shared with me that the principal um, was a young man at the time. He had come to us from the Cape area. Nice guy, and did a good job there too. But anyway, at the time they were a little upset because she shared with me that the media center kept getting like broken into. Somebody was stealing some of the equipment, and they were really losing TVs and speakers and different things at a rapid rate. And this is back before they had a lot of cameras and a lot of security, maybe in that area. I'm not quite sure what the school had, but anyway, they couldn't quite. It was a puzzle to them. This had been going on for a good month or so, I guess, where equipment was missing, and pricey equipment, good stuff. And the media center was also becoming more and more of an up and coming trendy course to take, media, and Mr. Bassett was and his wife Rosemarie, who was an aide. The two of them worked together, and they oversaw the media center and this and that. And so this was a big puzzle as to, now the media center also was located in back down an aisle, but corridor, but all near the stage, and where they'd have plays and events, and our library, our auditorium now was open to the public, so it got a lot of use through dance recitals and different things going on in the community. The those areas of the high school got a lot of public use. So the media center's losing equipment, and it's a snow day, and I see this kid, and he's acting anxious, and he's got a pile of something there that he's getting ready to take out of the building. Supposedly it was his own books and his jacket, but anyway, so when she's telling me this, how the principal was, told her that, it's kind of alarming that this equipment is missing, and more keeps missing, and they're trying to get to the bottom of this and what's going on. So she kind of mentioned, you know any kid, or any ideas of anybody who might be doing that or whatever. And I thought, no, not really. And then I said, but I gotta say something that just happened a few days ago. And so I shared the story of this kid who was acting, this Asian kid who was in the lobby and acting very nervous and very anxious. And they were there on this snow day, and I happened to mention to them, hey, go home, play in the snow. You don't have to be here, And so I told her, and um, that I just found it odd that he had this pile of stuff and he seemed so nervous about it. And then, he was waiting for another kid who was in the auditorium at the time or something on stage, and waiting for this other one or two other kids, evidently. So, um, knowing that, okay. And she said, you remember the name of this kid? So I went to my computer and printed out his profile. You could do that. You could get in and then do like a print screen of, and I gave it to her, and she gave it to told she went down and told the principal shortly thereafter. I didn't realize. And um, I just took a mental note of that as I told her, and she didn't ask me for the profile right away. She went in and told the principal like some part of the day, not right away, but later that day. And then later that day, they come back and ask me to do a printout of this kid's profile. So I do that. And so now I'm thinking, something might be up. Well, a few days later, the kid is in the office with his father. I don't remember his mother. It was just his father, I believe. And he's not Asian. So this kid, we learned, had been adopted. They adopted him. And I believe the kid, and at that time, so there was this police officer. So I believe the principal and secretary shared that information with the now police officer who probably did a little more home investigating and put this whole thing together and realized that. And so now they got the kid in there with his father, and I think the kid finally gives it up too, that it was him and his friends taking this and selling the stuff on the internet. Yeah, like I do eBay evidently. And boy, he got suspended, I believe, for a while, and that. But I think the father worked with the system to, um, better that or something, or make it right, or had the kid had to they had to pay something too, or get the stuff back, or pay for that loss or whatever. But I helped as with my little, um, you know, cautionary. I can pick up on things. I think I have that I wouldn't really call it a talent, but I mean I have that awareness, and that parental, maybe being a parent and knowing when kids are not telling the truth or whatever, or doing something fishy. And so I'm glad I shared that story with the secretary that day, because um, it helped solve that whole thing. And I know it made me look a lot better too, that I felt worthy. I felt more worthy in my job, in my place at that time, that I was needed there. I was a valuable asset, there in the workplace, compared to what happened to me a few years later, when I shared the story of how, um, I was really, given an unfair circumstance and situation, and some challenging days ahead, 3 or 4 years after that, after this principal left and another one had come on board, and the whole secretaries union was looked at, and we had an outside agency come and evaluate all our jobs. And go watch that. I'll have to look at the title of it, but it has to do with, workplace challenges. And I have that video out there, so that would be a good one to watch after this one, because what happened to me a few years later was so unfair, and such a terrible feeling to have to come to work knowing that, and work amongst these people that did you wrong, you know. But I also, I came out ahead on that one in the long run in the scheme of things. But those were hurtful times and should never ever have happened. But it did. But anyway, I wanted to share that story, and I have more stories. There's one that's real intense story of something that happened in the community, and it's centered around, started pretty much at the high school, with how it unfolded that day. And I will share that story, but I have to be, not in this video, in another video, but I have to be careful how I tell that story, because it is a delicate story. And I have a couple others too, when I think about it, of these delicate stories that I was slightly a part of, in a, um, I wasn't, but way. So if I'm making any sense, but interesting stories, and uh, stories that leave you wondering, why people do the things they do. But anyway, that little story, my awareness that day, and my, having to go to the restroom at that right time and see that kid real nervous and obviously hiding something. And evidently, it was some of the equipment that was under his jacket, and he was waiting for his friend or friends, a couple other kids, to help him get more stuff off the stage and out of the building while we're right there in the office. How, excuse my French, ballsy is that one, right? Wow. Yeah, but this kid had been doing that. This was not his first time. Yeah. So anyway, be aware of that. When you see someone acting a little, out of the ordinary or real nervous or tense or anxious, that's a sign of something's up. Something's up. Yeah. So this was fun. Um, like I said, my high school secretary, and yeah, I have others. I have one of the backyard swing, but I want to do that when I'm sitting down on the backyard swing. And today is not that day. It is still cold here in New England, and I think we may have had maybe 1 or 2 days thus far where we actually could be outside in a t-shirt and jeans. And I'm waiting, man. I am waiting. This is getting ridiculous. This, watery nose business and running and yeah, getting a bit much, right? I'm so jealous of all of you down in these warmer climates and these warmer states and countries. Oh my goodness. But anyway, it's been fun. It's always fun. And I don't want to keep them too long. So I'm going to go uh, check on Eddie too and see what we're going to have for supper. Earlier today, we had kraut dogs where I cook up a chop an onion with some, like a half a stick of butter and a good size onion. And then I put in a can of drained, rinsed sauerkraut and I let that all cook up nicely. And then you boil your hot dogs, and you got nice fresh hot dog buns, and you put all that together and put the kraut and onions on top, a little mustard. Delicious. We love them. Get a good hot dog. Don't get a cheapo one if you like hot dogs. And we do. And that's a good Saturday meal. Just so you know, you know, I don't know why I always add a little recipe at the end. It's becoming kind of a habit here. I do a video and then I'm talking about food. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you don't mind, but I'm gonna go on ya. I'm getting cold out here too, and gotta do a little eBay work and have something to eat. So, good night. Love ya. Thank you for hanging with me, and until we meet again. I certainly hope the universe provides. I truly do. Thank you now. Bye bye.